Do I need permission from the U.S. government in order to leave the United States? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. Obviously, with us being immigration lawyers, our job is to help people enter the United States. But we do get a fair number of questions from people who have been in the United States for a while and want to go home, and they want to know what are their options and will the federal government let them leave. For the most part, the U.S. government will always let you leave the United States. Now, obviously, if you're facing criminal charges or they have your passport, that's probably not going to happen. But in most instances, if immigrants have been in the United States and they choose to return to their home country without any plans of coming back, they can leave the United States. The first time I went to Egypt, I was surprised that not only do they track pretty diligently how you enter the United States and all the details surrounded the entry, they also keep very close track of who has left the United States. So the United States doesn't really do that. You may find yourself facing a situation where you're facing deportation, or you've been in the United States for a long time and you want to leave the United States. You need to be really, really careful because there are severe legal consequences to leaving the United States after an illegal entry or after an illegal overstay. If you have been in the United States for more than 6 months out of status and you leave the United States, and if it's between 6 months and 1 year, you're going to have a 3-year bar on coming back to the United States. If you have been here for more than a year and out of status for that whole full year, then you're not going to be able to come back for 10 years. So, and then if you're facing deportation, that's going to be an even bigger issue. If you leave the United States, you might self-deport yourself. You might then have a permanent bar or some other bar that's going to prevent you from coming back to the United States. So interestingly, the United States doesn't spend a lot of time keeping track of who's entering and who's leaving. And if you're thinking about leaving the United States, you need to make sure that you have the ability to come and go. If you're hoping to come back and you're here with a pending green card application, you're going to want to make sure you have advanced parole. If you've been granted asylum or refugee status in the United States, you might need a refugee travel document. So there are certain rules for immigrants when they are leaving the United States. The interesting thing, though, is, like I said, the U.S. government doesn't really track it. A lot of it's on the honor system. And obviously there's millions of people walking around in the United States who are supposed to have left a long time ago, but just never did. So if you find yourself in that situation where you've been in the United States after having overstayed your visa or after having entered without inspection and you're thinking about leaving, you really need to be careful. You really need to think it through. You really need to ask yourself, what if I can't come back? And that's true for anybody who's thinking about travel abroad. What are the consequences if I'm not allowed back into the United States? So it's a tricky situation. If you are looking for help in figuring out what your options are, feel free to call us on our Immigration Answers show. We have a YouTube channel where I go live 3 or 4 times a week. We obviously don't really help people in leaving the United States, but we could certainly help people who are applying for a green card or need advanced parole or need a refugee travel document. Those are certainly the kinds of cases that we handle. But like I said, you probably don't need a lawyer in order to leave the United States unless you have violated the terms of your status or unless you have overstayed your visa. Because at that point, you might be inviting a bar upon yourself that would keep you from being able to re-enter the United States. And that's what it's all about, is when do you want to re-enter? Do you want to be able to re-enter? And are you going to have some legal prohibition on coming back to the United States? So hope you found this video helpful. If you're looking to hire us as your attorneys, give us a call, 314-961-8200. You can email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. We have our Facebook group that's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you join us there. We have thousands of members in that group who are talking about the immigration process, asking questions, talking about processing times every single day. And like I mentioned, we have our Immigration Answers show. If you're thinking about leaving, you want to ask me about that or anything else related to the immigration process, just subscribe to our YouTube channel, hackingimmigrationlaw.com. And then you'll get an alert whenever I go live, and whenever we try to answer those questions, you'll be the first to know. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.